Thank you for joining Dr. James, Rini, and I, the Curiosity Conduit, for a look behind the curtain of letting destiny deliver. With 47 years of experience as a practicing psychotherapist, Dr. Rini brings profound insight into the dimensions of consciousness. I bring my own lens as a retired law enforcement officer, now immersed in the study of psychology. Together, we invite you into a dialogue where destiny meets awareness and curiosity leads the way. Today, we will discuss the second grouping of the pathways, which falls under avoidance. This conversation may lead to feelings of inspiration and curiosity, and it could also create some inner movement. That's all welcome. Life will reveal your destiny through all opportunities you keep yourself available for. So allow yourself to stay open and let's see what destiny delivers. So, going into avoidance, I'm going to read this. It says, avoid being too passive about acquiring and processing information. The more passive you are, the less choice you have, and the more you risk losing your self health. What does that mean?
Well, when you are passive, what you're basically saying is that you only deal with what comes to you. And therefore, you are depriving yourself of all the things that are out there that just don't automatically come to you.
That's really good. I like that because you have to be active in this process, right?
Well, you have to be active in the process of life. The way I like to look at it, if you're passive, you're basically letting life pass you by.
Mm.
Because you're reacting rather than taking action or being proactive. And not that passive doesn't have a role or a place to play to be, because it does. The problem is people that are passive tend to be one-sided. They tend to avoid taking action or being active. They tend to be much more reactive because that's what's natural to them. That's their preference. It's like being left-handed or right-handed. But you still got to use both hands, even if you're left-handed, So you have to be more active. And the other thing is, if you're passive, there are sources of information that one really has to dig for to find or be lucky to come across, because what's mainstream isn't everything that's out there. And there are a lot of things I know just as a professional, what I've learned that the public doesn't know about, that is essential to know.
Okay. I mean, that definitely flows right into this next quote. It says, the information and images you take in greatly affect your thinking, your belief system, and your individuality. And this would go along with watching TV and stuff like that.
Well, see, here's another thing I would say to you. The more passive you are, the reason you have less choice is you can't make choices if you don't have the right answer. If I give you two choices and neither of them are right, and you're passive and you don't do some exploration to see if there are other choices, then you're not really able to have access to the truth. Like in our political system, we basically have two parties. There's the possibility of many parties, but we only have two. So do we really have choice? You have the illusion of, because you can pick A or B, but A or B isn't all encompassing in terms of other parties have tried and failed in part because, status quo.
And we've talked about social media numerous times. I'm going to bring it up again because no matter how much we talk about it, this includes myself. I'm raising my hand here, diming myself out. I will be one of those who constantly scrolls. And I have to really kind of check myself and stop that because I do see what the effect it has on me and as I have more and more awareness. So, I mean, this is definitely an area that we should talk about again, and it ties into that quote.
And then the last piece of it, the reason you risk losing your self-health is because you're not making choices that come from a place that allows you to find truth. When somebody's seductive, they're giving you the illusion that they're telling the truth. And that's why it's seduction. Okay. Sincerity is the opposite. If I'm telling you something, I'm not doing it to manipulate you. I'm telling you because it is genuinely how I feel or what I think. So the difference between seduction and courtship is sincerity. They both look the same. Difference is one is not the truth. Person knows what you want to hear, but isn't sincere, versus someone who is sincere. Not only do they hear what you're saying and be able to speak to that, but they also are being genuine in what they say. And so that's why self-help is so important, to have truth, that you know your own truth, that you don't lie to yourself, and that you don't lie to others. And this will tie into other thing that we're going to talk about. Carl Jung defines self-knowledge as knowing the effect that you have on other people.
I want to say that every single episode or recording that we have because it's so good.
And it's so true. I've never read that anywhere. And I've only read it in the last year and a half or so of his works. You know, most people think self-knowledge, well, I know this about me and I know that about me. No, it's the effect that you have on other people. Being able to take ownership and to see yourself through the effect that you have on other people. You know, years ago when I decided to go into private practice full time, I ran into a colleague and told him, and he said, Jim, you'll do good because you make people feel good. And I never thought about that. And I never thought of myself that way, but that is who I am. I like to make people feel good. And so obviously if I'm doing therapy, I want them to feel good because they're getting better, you know, kind of thing. Where we was coming from and telling me that is that's the effect that I had on him. Because not only was he a colleague, but I mean, we're talking 45 years ago when you could do therapy with a colleague and you could supervise someone we'd done therapy with, and he'd done all those things with me. So he knew me, you know, from a variety of perspectives as a client, and obviously I made him feel good as a client. And so he wasn't just observing, he had actually experienced that. And I've never forgotten that, even though it's 45 years ago. And taught me something about myself that I didn't even know, because I don't need to do that professionally. That's kind of the person I am in general. But I won't make someone happy at the expense of my own self-health.
Okay. When would something like that happen?
Well, what comes to mind is I dated this girl many years ago, and, you know,
You're a ladies' man because I'm hearing all these dates and Polly, the singleness stuff. Oh, sorry. Try it. Okay, it's one person.
four or five people.
Okay.
Again, you have to consider I'm 69 years old. I've been ready for a long time. But anyway, I had this habit back then too, which I did in therapy and I learned. So, you know, in therapy and personally, you know, I was upset with her and I brought up all these things that she had done in the past. And she goes, you know, it really isn't fair because when we've dealt with you, you tell me it's okay.
Hmm.
And I said, you know, you're right. I had to stop telling you it's okay because obviously it's not okay if I bring it back up later. You see? And I do that in therapy. I'd confront somebody and I know it was hurtful and I say, but it's okay. But that's not therapeutic. You have to let them bask in that pain. And I was trying to make them feel better. So in that case, it worked against me because I was not honoring my own self. And in the case of the girlfriend, yes, you're right. I need to stop saying it's okay because obviously it's not. I sincerely meant it at the time, but based on what happened and the awareness then that she gave me, I realized, no, it's not okay. You know, and then I take it a step further, you know, back when I was more passive like that, is I might tell a person all the things, not all the things, but some of the things that I'm resentful to them about. And then I feel guilty about doing that. So then I try to make them feel better and whatever. And I decide, you know, here I go through all that work that I don't like to do, only to neutralize it by then saying I feel bad or wanting to take it back. It didn't make sense because I really felt that resentment. And it's a part to build the relationship, not to tear it down. And so I learned to then feel guilty about it, undid all the work that when I didn't like doing the work in the first. It's like typing on your computer, you know, and you're doing a paper for school and you're almost done and you delete it by accident.
I've done that. And I've done that on reports.
And then you got to do it all over again. See?
But a good learning experience.
Yeah, you save it along the way rather than wait till the end.
They have-
So express what you're not happy about along the way rather than waiting until the end.
Oh, there we go. That's some good advice for our listeners.
Well, thank you.
So, moving on to this next quote, self-knowledge is something that needs to be taken seriously if you want to protect yourself from the many illusions and exploitations of misinformation and misfortune. So, I kind of put some other information that came from your book with this, and it says take responsibility for your happiness by acquiring and processing the information that most effectively nurtures self development and self knowledge. I kind of put this as an answer to that quote, even though it came in reverse in your book. I like switching it around as the answer to this. What do you think about the quote itself where it says the self-knowledge is something that needs to be taken seriously? What do you want us to know about that?
That it really is how you develop a sense of self. And the sense of self is actually a sense. You have the ability to sense all kinds of things because you are so connected to yourself consciously. And because you know yourself as a result of that, you are able to discern truth from BS. You're able to discern what is meaningful from what is meaningless. You're able to find purpose when you put it all together. And putting it together makes you want to it expands your purpose. And so to have that power to make those kinds of discernments requires self-knowledge.
So in the book, it talks about taking responsibility. And one of the ways to do this is by acquiring and processing the information that most effectively nurtures. So, what would an example of that be?
You like the example thing.
Well, everybody like love examples thing. By the way,
But I'm also going to answer first what I want to answer.
oh, well, of course, you are the doctor.
Well, because to find the information that most effectively nurtures self-development and self-knowledge is almost an endangered species. Most of the information that we have today is to addict you or get you to spend money or entertain you or to get you divided with your neighbor. So all that information is toxic and it does nothing to nurture self-development or self-health. I know there are videos out there and there are podcasts, and I haven't listened to most all of them or know them. So that ability to discern if something is really, if it resonates with you. If something makes you cry, then it's resonating with you.
What about laugh?
Probably laughing too.
Hmm.
But if you can't discern, if you don't have self-knowledge, you can't. I had this thing that I call the me, not me axis, which means I know which parts fall in not me and which parts fall in as me. But that doesn't mean like people go, well, I'm the same person you married 20 years ago, so it's not me. I haven't changed, you know. But yes, that's the problem. You haven't changed. You can be you. I mean, you can look pictures of yourself over many years. You change. There's still a certain essence that looks like you, but still there's change. So you have to develop. You have to grow as a human being. If not, then you're going to have mental issues, psychological issues, because you develop symptoms when you don't do what you're supposed to do.
And then you get to experience the, as you termed it, stuckness. The stuckness.
And the despair that comes from being stuck after a certain point. So where suicide then comes in. It's the only way out. We're taking things to the
Of course,
street.
because it's not true, but yes.
But there's, the more subtle part. So I'm just saying it's hard to acquire that information, and in part, like I'll even throw in relationships. It's hard to find somebody you can really trust. And if they are trustworthy, are you then able to trust them? And it's ironic, I call it a paradox, that the information that usually our spouse or closest person gives us, we don't believe. We need to hear it from somebody else in order to believe it. So here in terms of talking about, getting this kind of nurturing information and ability to process it, but yet we don't accept information from the people we're the closest to. We tend to want to hear it from a third party because we think that person close to us is not objective, you see. Third party is objective. I'm not saying that's true. I'm just saying I think that's kind of...
I think there is a large amount of people who feel that way. I don't, but yes.
Well, and I'm just saying I would want to be in a relationship where I feel I could trust that person, that they're not, what's that terms? Gaslighting me.
I don't like that word.
Well, it's the word that everybody understands.
Ooh, I just don't like it.
And it's pervasive. I mean, from what I understand, gaslighting is pervasive. I mean, it's from top to bottom. And you certainly are not getting nurturing information here. It's exploitation, it's illusional, it's misinformation, it's misguidance, and that's why there are so many problems today.
Yeah.
And it will progress and get worse as it has over the decades, just to be a little optimistic.
Ha ha ha. I was focused on something, so I was a little delayed in hearing what you said.
Well, the optimism comes in somehow helping people wake up, that they can wake up, they will wake up before it's too late. because things reach a point of being too late. Cancer reaches a point of being too late, even if it's found out.
It is my belief it's too late when it's done. Like, that's it. You have all the way until that last. Done.
Well, I'll use this analogy. How much weight do you have to lose before you die? You don't go down to 0. Probably under 100 or somewhere close to there, that if you don't have a certain amount of weight, your body shuts down. It's a problem with cancer patients. They lose weight. And losing too much weight is sure death. So it doesn't have to go all the way down to 0.
Nope. I'm blocking you. I'm keeping my hope alive. I'm blocking you.
Denial is a beautiful thing.
I love it right now.
Well, my optimism is that people will wake up.
Mine too.
Because they're too passive. And
it's never too late.
I said the end. The common everyday information.
Yes.
That is full of distortions and exploitation.
And moving on and say, by taking a more active role in the acquisition of information and processing it, you are more likely to encounter information that furthers your connection to nature's rhythms and cycles. What is nature's rhythms and cycles?
Did you know that everything on this planet is on a 24-hour cycle?
Yes. Okay. So this is you're talking
So
about.
a lot of it is nature's rhythms and cycles. Okay, and because we live in the environment that we do, it takes 24 hours for the Earth to rotate on its axis, and therefore we are all on the 24-hour cycle because the Earth is.
Okay. So in previous recordings, you talk about and you educated the listeners about the 24-hour cycles with the circadian cycle, right? And then
the ultradian cycle.
And the ultradian cycles and how they.
But there you have the sleep cycle, you see.
Yes.
And you have a waking cycle. You have a menstrual cycle.
No, some people do.
I said you.
No way. No, that's gone for me. Woohoo. Anyway.
Well, the yous that are listening.
The yous that still have it when you're listening who did not have a hysterectomy. Okay. So, or past menopause, post-menopause. But yeah, okay, so
life stages or cycles.
So it's furthering from that connection. But these are things.
From which connection?
It's your connection with nature's rhythms, right? So that's what you were really discussing here. So it says you will be able to better discern truth from spin, what is adaptive from maladaptive, and leave your own creative mark on this world.
Okay, all that's except the very last part has been kind of talked about.
Yes.
About the ability to discern how self-knowledge is an important of that. And leaving your own mark. There's that song by Frank Sinatra, I Did It My Way.
Right.
And what makes, like singers, not just because it was talking about Frank Sinatra, successful, they usually have a very unique voice, a very distinct voice.
Yeah, and this time, because we've talked about this in the past, and for the listeners, I'm speaking up for the Aussie fans. I mentioned Aussie and it was dismissed. He was an amazing artist and his voice was unique.
Did I contradict that?
No, it was dismissive during the recording. So I must throw this out.
You're now putting it in a different context.
A good one.
Yeah, how that put in your print, your uniqueness into the world, you see.
Yeah.
But it comes in that from that, because people have a hard time. People like to fit in. There's fad and there's fashion and, things go viral and you got to have millions of likes. So we're in this collective consciousness, kind of consciousness, And what it does, it's the expense that unique. Now, some people think they're unique because they color their hair purple or they wear funny clothes or whatever. No, those are decorations, Uniqueness is, again, that unique voice, okay, or that unique talent that you have that makes you different. The Liberty Bell is the most famous bell because it cracked the first time it was used. They didn't take it down and replace it. And that's true of us. We have great gifts and we also have cracks, but the bell still rings. The thing about the rhythms and cycles was we know it. You can tell if you are in a different time zone, daylight savings time. All it takes is switching it for an hour and your cycle is, in rhythm is upset. And by being upset, it affects your thinking and your functioning and how you feel. And that's just putting the clock back ahead an hour or back an hour. So imagine really being out of sync with nature's rhythms and cycles. But if it becomes normal, you don't know you're out of sync anymore. And being in sync, nature's there to help us prosper and optimize our life. And if you tune into those rhythms and cycles, that's exactly what will happen. And part of that rhythm and cycle is also who we are as individuals, because it expands and it contracts. Tides ebb and flow. The moon waxes and wanes. What's hot becomes cold. What's cold becomes hot.
So I guess at the end of this, it just, in tying it all together, when it says avoid being too passive, really takes responsibility.
Yeah, and play on that word is the ability to respond. Responsibility is the ability to respond. If you're being passive, you're not responding, really. You're just taking it.
Avoid taking it. Is that what you're saying?
Well, it depends on the quality of life you want.
Okay. Well, I
And people that are passive, they're inherently passive. See, that's the other part that's hard. It's hard for a passive person not to be passive. And that's why it requires that work and that determination and that commitment to be more expressive and to act more on one's needs and desires and experiment. If again, expansion and contraction. You're going to have success. You're going to have failure.
but it's key to have that awareness of the self and what you're feeling.
And being able to be real and again, expand and contract, grow, learn, and then make mistakes.
I love that. Is there anything else that you would like to add?
One more thing. Expanding and contracting is like breathing. You inhale, you expand your lungs. You exhale, you contract them. What happens when you stop breathing? You die. What happens when you are too passive? You die psychologically because you're holding your breath.
Well, and science has proven this as well, like as far as sickness and illness
Mm-hmm.
as well, for what I believe you're talking about. Being too passive, individuals who
Well, yeah, if you're sedentary, it's you're. I mean, supposedly sitting is a new smoking. It's as bad for you as smoking is. So yeah, and again, it's a cycle. There's a time to be active. That's when you're awake in a sense, and there's a time to be passive when you're asleep. I mean, I'm just talking physiologically. Certainly, in the waking state, there's a time to be active. You're meditating. You're much more passive. You're out there driving to work. You're active. So there's cycles, and we usurp those cycles because people work through that time when they feel, oh, I need a break. Oh, no, they don't take it as that, oh, let me have another cup of coffee or let me have this energy drink or, let me get up and walk around. So they essentially neglect that part of the cycle, for example, over and over again. And that's the part. They're dissing ease, which disease feeds on. Because they think they're related. They think they're twins. Disease and disease.
wait, disease and disease think they're twins? Is that what you just said?
Yeah.
They think they're twins.
Yeah.
Okay.
They are
Fraternal twins?
yeah, they are paternal twins. I like that. That's what's better, yes. They're not identical twins.
Come from the same womb, but DNA, but not
Well,
necessarily.
it's disease is meaning not being calm, not being relaxed, not being able to sleep, you see. And why do people have trouble sleeping? Because they have lost the ability to be at ease. They're so caught up in the worry and the problems and the responsibilities at one end that they can't become unconscious. And by unconscious, I don't mean lacking in awareness. I mean lacking in having to focus on things like that.
I agree. I could go all day talking about that one, but can't.
All right.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining Dr. Rini and I on this journey behind the current of letting destiny deliver. Join us next time as we will discuss the fifth pathway, which is listed under avoidance. Remember to subscribe and like, and questions or comments are welcome below. Now ask yourself, what part of your life might destiny be trying to speak through right now? Keep exploring, stay curious, and remember, destiny isn't something you chase, it's something you allow. Until next time, be well.